So this is a dude who can really shoot it from the outside. If you go through his career, he can really score. He averaged 21.6 points per game, ranking 14th in Division II basketball in the 2023-24 season when he was at Wheeling. And in the year prior to that, he played in 19 games. He started all 19, and he averaged 18.6 points per game that year.
Hello and welcome into another edition of 3Ma. I am John Kurtz, joined by Derek Young and Cole Manbeck here today. Talk a little bit of everything, but we've got a hoops visitor, okay? So there is some action going on here, and we will get you all set and ready to go for that. So, hey, raise a glass, 360 vodka, Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon. Just talking to some listeners of the podcast last night who were asking me about Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon and 360 vodka. So the word continues to spread. Make sure you get out and support them. They're great K-State fans who support us. So whatever your needs are this spring or summer, if you're going to be entertaining, it's great stuff to have on hand. And you can help spread the gospel of Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon to everybody else. So thank you to Holiday Distillery for their support. Guys, we've got I almost said a commit. Not a commit yet. We've got a basketball visitor. And I do have to wonder here. I can see that DY is wearing It's All About the U, but it is bright orange. So perhaps I thought, this was like a Bowling Green. This was the closest Bowling Green connection you could make because K-State is hosting Bowling Green transfer Marcus Johnson. Was that anywhere in your subliminal messaging, DY?
No, this is because Miami landed the number one recruit over Georgia. But I grew up and went to college very near Bowling Green. Put it that way.
Got a Bowling Green joke too about like you do for.
You're not gonna like it. It's not appropriate. It's even worse than that one.
Oh, we type it in the chat.
Yeah, I will. But let's move forward as Cole. It won't be on the whole show.
Okay.
I want to hear from John.
But we want to have fun, man. We want to have fun here. Nick says home field does have Bowling Green. Well, that's not even a joke, DY. That's not clever.
That's what they're known for.
And now the mystery of all of our listeners wondering what was put in the chat.
I mean, John could share if we want.
Oh, man. No, I'm going to say this. I would love if the Discord would like to speculate about what Bowling Green's reputation is according to DY, then go to patreon.com/3mod to get signed up. We're just cramming in all the ad reads for everything here at the beginning. Let's just get them all out of the way. Patreon.com/3mod to get signed up for that. And I'm sure the Discord will have some fun with that. So we'll see what the people come up with. There we go. That's how you create content, man. You have people do the content for you.
And on the YouTube chat. There we go.
Yeah. YouTube comments for sure. YouTube comments, man. You guys can live it up there. I haven't been reading them lately. Cole, has there been anything good in the YouTube comments?
Just mostly calling you two idiots and me brilliant and bright, and that's basically a summary of what I've seen. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Nick did say someone called me a tool, so I guess
I did see that, John. I did not forward you that. That individual was like, his title was like Big 12 fan. I think he was annoyed that you didn't rank the Big 12 teams like DY and I did. So he said John is such a tool for not ranking the bottom. I think it's because you didn't like put a tier on the bottom part of the league and didn't rank the bottom half of the league, and he called you a tool for ignoring them. So.
Oh, well, I'm an elitist. We've all known this. I'm an elitist. I woke up after I had my gold sheets covering me up until about 10 minutes ago when I hopped out of bed to do this well, I didn't hop out of bed. Of course, my team helped me up out of bed. I had somebody there to do it for me. So I'm an elitist. It's okay. All right. So Bowling Green transfer Marcus Johnson is visiting, or did visit, was at K-State yesterday as we record this here on Thursday. All right, there's a lot to unpack here. He scored 16 points a game, 5 rebounds. They were 14 and 18, so this was not a good team. I'm sure Cole, Mac expert, could have told us that. But it's a guy who started at the D2 level. He's worked his way up. He can definitely score. He can definitely shoot. I mean, this dude can stroke it. If you watch his highlights, he can definitely shoot. He is also very overweight, so you wonder about like conditioning issues. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just calling a spade a spade. I think that's the concern is like how does that fit in at this level?
Shark Week will be fun.
Shark Month. I think I saw somebody say Shark Month for this.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be here to make a ton of jokes about all of that. I am just.
You started it though. I'm not. It's very serious.
No, he called out the elephant in the room. You made the joke.
Yeah, exactly. It is the elephant in the room, man. I mean, that's I think the question. Like, well, first of all, one of the questions is like, is there real competition? Like, who else is really recruiting him? This name popped up out of nowhere. Like, I don't know. It's if you are somebody that likes shooting, I mean, you watch his game, it's fun. Like, the dude can absolutely shoot the lights out of the ball. So, there's that to like there. This would be, and the other misnomer I think we should correct is like this is somebody who would be playing. He's like a wing. This isn't really like, guy who's going to be down low on the block. This is a wing. He's got a wing skill set.
Yeah, I saw some reports out there. K-State might get their big man out of this because I think they just blindly look and it's like 6'6", 270. Okay, he's got to play in the paint. No, that's not really how he plays. So a unique style, a body type that will remind you of DJ Burns, maybe even a little bigger.
Yeah.
The DJ Burns of NC State, but he didn't play like him. DJ Burns was flashy with his distributing and passing and a little bit more athletic than you would anticipate. I don't know that I would say this guy's more athletic than I would anticipate, but he's going to live on the perimeter and just score and shoot.
Yeah, he's maybe this would have been a more tactful way for me to do this. He is 6'7", 265 pounds is what he is listed at. And he shot 39% from 3-point range last year.
Yeah, I mean, he can really shoot it. I mean, when you watch this game, like people on our Discord yesterday, they were making comps to like Trey Orr at BYU, to DJ Burns in North Carolina State. The difference being those guys are true fives. Like they're really centers. And so, this is a guy that plays the three.
Like 0.5s to those guys.
Yeah. And that's just not his game. Like you watch his film, like this is a dude shooting fadeaway jumpers, which, gosh, he's got a lot of arc on that shot. And he can really shoot it from three. John mentioned it, but I mean, 198 3-point attempts last year, and he knocked down 39.4% of them. And it's not like that was a fluke. Now, granted, you would assume it wasn't a fluke anyways on nearly 200 attempts. But in the year prior at the Division II school he was at, Wheeling, he shot 44.7% from three on 150 attempts. So this is a dude who can really shoot it from the outside. If you go through his career, he can really score. He averaged 21.6 points per game, ranking 14th in Division II basketball in the 2023-24 season when he was at Wheeling. And in the year prior to that, he played in 19 games. He started all 19, and he averaged 18.6 points per game that year. And this is a dude that started every game at Wheeling. He led them in minutes, averaged 33 minutes a game, 8 rebounds, 3.1 assists when he was there. And then he led Bowling Green. I mean, we talk about the size being a concern. He's got to lose weight, but he did lead Bowling Green in minutes played at 31.5 minutes. Now, how much effort's being put forth throughout the game and on defense? His defensive rating is really bad, as we see. So that's something to be concerned about as well. But, we can talk more in depth about it. But it's a guy that can definitely score. He led Bowling Green in points per game at 16 and had 5 rebounds per game.
They have some dudes in the fold. I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more at length that can really defend, right? Like Nate Johnson, Kamari McGriff, I think can defend in the paint a bit at least. But they have now, let's say they get Marcus Johnson. They have a handful of dudes that if they play together, the defense is going to be a question mark.
I was going to say, you started going down the opposite road that I was thinking. I was thinking like, well, I mean, I don't know. Bashir, how is Bashir as a defender? Like,
the body type difference between Bashir and Marcus Johnson that we playing next to each other.
Yeah.
One 6'6", 190, and the other one's 6'6", 265.
Yeah, I'm just like, they clearly were going for like more of a toughness defense kind of vibe. We thought there for a little while. This would seem to be a little bit different. Maybe that's not totally fair. I mean, at least from a
toughness
toughness
and grit.
standpoint.
I think you still get toughness and grit out of these kind of guys, but even Kostic, I know Cole has mentioned, you kind of wonder about defense with him too, right? So,
yeah, I mean, and John, you brought up who else there, who else is looking at Marcus Johnson in the portal? Like, I don't know. He's been in the portal since March 18th, and you really don't see any reports out there. Today's May 15th. So, I mean, we're talking 2 months here, and I haven't really seen any reports or tracked anything down of him making visits elsewhere other than Trilly put on his Discord last week that K-State was talking to Marcus Johnson, and then now they've got the visit set up.
And this is us just giving both sides of the coin. We gave you the good that he can really score, he can really shoot it. He's got some game on the offensive end, but on the flip side, there's some question marks about his defense. How well is his game going to translate to this level? Because not every MAC superstar or good player does transfer up with success, and he's going to do it with maybe a conditioning and athleticism negative differential.
And keep this in mind, because I said it when K-State landed Nate Johnson from Akron, the MAC was awful in basketball this year. And so if you look at his resume of who they played at Bowling Green this year, they only played 2 games against top 100 quality teams.
He still scored well in those games, but was not as efficient.
No, yeah, two top 100 quality opponents, 1 top 50 quality opponent. The top 50 quality opponent was Michigan State. And in that game, he scored 23 points in 35 minutes of action, but he shot 9 of 24 from the floor, 1 of 11 from 3, and had an offensive rating of 85. In the 2 100 top quality games, he had an offensive rating of 85, which certainly isn't good. It's a very small sample size, though, because, again, only 2 games against the top 100 opponents. Other concern is, he can really shoot it from 3, but he's not a guy that's really going to finish well at the rim. So people making comps about these good centers. I mean, he is 47% at the rim on 108 attempts this last year. Actually shot 42% on other twos, which isn't bad. 46 of 109 from shots away from the rim outside of threes. But 102 offensive rating on a 26.7 usage rate last season overall. 17 games of 5 or more rebounds, 6 of 7 or more rebounds, had a season high 13 versus Northern Illinois to go along with 22 points. Made 5 threes in 4 different games, ranked 9th in the conference and made threes, etc. Or actually top 5 in the conference and made threes, 9th in 3-point percentage. So also the dude is a bucket at the free throw line too. Consistent as could be there. 90% at the foul line this last year, led the MAC, set the school record at Bowling Green for free throw percentage. And at Wheeling the year prior, he shot 91% from the free throw line. The challenge is he doesn't get there that often. He attempted 88 free throw attempts this last year at Bowling Green
because he sits out on the perimeter.
Exactly. I mean, he's not a guy that's going to blow by you and create contact.
We talk about how different the body types are with Bashir and Marcus Johnson. They kind of play similarly.
Yeah, not totally wrong on that. Not totally wrong. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. How does this fit in?
John, this seems like a home run to you. I mean, they got Bashir chucking threes. They got a guy that's going to be a headliner if he has big games. I mean, he's going to go viral on the internet. And Marcus Johnson, you got Kostic, who can shoot it from the outside. I mean, just no defense, play offense.
No defense. I don't know what the distributing looks like outside of maybe Nate Johnson. Now, Kostic and Rapique, assuming Rapique's also in the fold, they're not pure point guards, but they can pass the ball. So I will say that.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about the overall roster coming up in just a moment. But Home Field Apparel apparently does have Bowling Green gear. If you want to support Nate Johnson or his old school, whatever, you can do that at homefieldapparel.com. You can get DYs. It's all about the U shirt because they landed the number 1 football recruit in the country. I was reading an anecdote about Mario Cristobal making a bunch of noise from a random room down a hallway at Amelia Island where the ACC was having their meetings. So congratulations, I suppose, to the U there. I used to have an It's All About the U shirt, but it didn't look as good as that because it was Nike and not Home Field Apparel. So go to homefieldapparel.com, get stocked up. Lots of K-State gear there, 100 plus other teams, anything you want, homefieldapparel.com, and use promo code 3MA24 for 15% off your first order. That is promo code 3MON24 for 15% off your first order. And we are back in just a moment.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story. Like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It's playoff time, and if you're still just watching games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks flex plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competitor, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, so the whole roster. I don't like what are the needs here? I've got guards, Nate Johnson, David Castillo, Xavier Wilson, true freshman coming in. You've got Andre Kostic, Abdi Bashir on the wing, Moby, Kamari McGriff, Elias Rapique, Taj Manning, maybe Tyreek Smith at forward. We'll see what happens there, with his whole waiver/appeal process, everything that's going on. So how are we feeling about this right now?
Well, I don't know about Cole, but I almost think you're set at the wing, at least from a quantity standpoint, if you land Marcus Johnson, right? Technically, like you have actually at this point quite a bit of wings, where last year I think one of the issues was not enough wings, right?
Yeah.
So that's the interesting thing. But I would like to see maybe a more physically imposing big that's a little bit, more physically daunting than kind of the small ball fives they technically have right now in McGriff and Tyreek Smith. So I think that, and then assuming Rapique's in the fold, I think you're kind of filled 2, 3, and 4, and that would give you 11 players if Rapique's in the fold, if Marcus Johnson's in the fold, if Tyreek Smith is in the fold. So then I would go get a guy that can be a distributor, a guard, and a big that's a little bit more physically daunting than the two that you're probably going to be playing with a little bit here that are probably more small ball fives.
Sounds about right to me. I mean, and I guess the other point is, like, if you think about Marcus Johnson potentially in the fold is, I mean, Phil Byer will have his work cut out, but you got to assume they'll have a nutrition and training plan, because like they could also consider him as a pick and pop 4 type if they wanted to. But that will be dependent upon how much he plays on the wing, how much he could play in the 4 position. Could be dependent upon, how much can he shed? Can they get him down to that 240 range and give him a little more athleticism and quickness to be able to defend in terms of dictating where he plays? But yeah, I think they need a point guard still. And then, probably a best player available type, whoever that might be. Maybe it's somebody still in Europe as they scour the grounds there.
I don't know. I kind of think it big, but you don't. Yeah.
I mean, So we're assuming Tyreek Smith is in that scenario. They have McGriff. I mean, those are probably your 2 fives.
And they're kind of small ball fives now.
Yeah. I mean, I think a big would make sense as well, especially if you land a point guard, as we talk about that to be your 12th player, then a big probably makes sense because you've got enough guards and wing types.
I mean, like the 2s and 3s on this roster, you got Bashir, Nate Johnson, Kostic, Castillo, and then Marcus Johnson can play the 3 if you get him. I just think you have enough there. I think you need one. And then 4s, you got Rapique and Moby and Taj and Marcus Johnson if he could play there. Maybe McGriff in a pinch. I just think you're a little light at 1 and 5 because I don't know if David Castillo is really a 1.
Yeah, kind of combo guardy. Yeah,
you can play with a bunch of combo guards, so maybe that's what we'll do too. So
yeah, I guess like the best player available thing kind of becomes what they did with Coleman Hawkins last year, right? You wait and see what happens with the draft, who stays in, who pops out, and maybe you can make a run at somebody there at the end. That's, I guess, best case scenario. Find some under the radar point guard, and then somebody big like that winds up being available. You wind up being able to nail that down. That would probably be the best case scenario for the roster. Because I don't know, guys. I mean, looking over I realized I was the guy that said at the beginning of the offseason, like, hey, I'm not going to get too high, too low on the portal. Let's just see what the roster looks like when they start playing games. Maybe they hit some home runs, going a little bit more under the radar this year. So I'll afford them that benefit of the doubt. But looking at it on paper, I mean, I don't know. I'm not getting terribly excited about that roster, to be completely honest.
This is not a roster that is, in my opinion, near the talent that they had last year. But that, to be fair, that was a group that underachieved. So I'm not saying this is like, oh, does that mean we're going to have a losing record? It didn't have to mean that. I think last year's group of talent largely and overwhelmingly underachieved and underwhelmed. What they have composed and collected so far is almost, I would say, maybe even significantly less talented. But I would say they're significantly tougher and significantly like kind of the right guys, though. I don't know if that makes sense. A little more grittiness and toughness. Probably a group that's going to be easier to root for, even if they are less talented.
Well, maybe. I mean, we're talking about them adding 2 guys that are very poor defensively. Though.
Yeah, but I still view them as physical, tough players too.
I mean, I just, as they sit here today, like, let's just pretend Marcus Johnson's in the fold and he commits to Kansas State after his visit, and they've got 11 guys, and we're assuming Rapique's in and Tyreek Smith gets his waiver. Let's assume all of that, which is a lot to assume, but let's go down that road. I still don't think they're close to an NCAA tournament team based off the roster composition, and you only have 2 spots left to fill. So, I mean, I think you have to land a stud at that point to really get it to the point where they're even a contender for the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. And that stud is going to cost a lot of money because you're going to have to beat out, because there's only a handful of them left. I mean,
and we don't even know how much they have left, how much they had to spend on the guys they even do have now. So there's some constraints there too.
We're talking about the PJ Haggertys of the world, the Darian Williams, who doesn't seem realistic. Jameer Watkins, which we just talked about, they're loaded up at wing now. So is that really a fit if it was a Jameer Watkins type? RJ Lewis, probably not a fit either. He's another wing type. So, I mean, those are the guys that are more of the home run types that are still out there that are going through the NBA draft process. So,
well, I mean, I will just say, I get what the point you're making from a roster composition standpoint. It didn't really feel like Coleman Hawkins fit last year at the time that they added him from a positional standpoint. I mean, that was the whole conversation that we were having, and they still did it anyway. So
this is, I don't know if anyone's actually said this, and I think we all probably know this. Coleman Hawkins fit a lot better once they got rid of a Chor.
Yeah. At the time, though, it obviously you looked around like, man, this just feels like too many wings in the position. But at this point, I'm kind of with you, Cole. It does feel like you need to probably just go add talent and figure out the rest later. Yeah. I guess. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, again, I have to make sure that I extend benefit of the doubt, because to be consistent with my take at the beginning of the offseason, I will do that. So we will see what happens. But it's not incredibly sexy on paper right now. Okay, Cole, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. DY are going to talk a little Big 12 football coming up next.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
For the Big 12 haters out there, I guess I'll bring up some Big 12 football over-unders that we got from Circus Sports in Vegas that have generated a lot of conversation here in May, as we all look for any sort of football content to latch onto. K-State tied for first in the Big 12 in over-under win totals, but there's not a lot of difference between anybody in the Big 12, which underscores the entire point about the league, that it's just a lot of parity and a lot of teams that are really tough to predict because they are so similar in terms of talent, resources, coaching, etc. But K-State, Texas Tech, and Arizona State all projected at 8.5 for the season over-under win total. So first, DY, I'll get your reaction to K-State being put at 8.5. Again, regular season. Okay, so you'd be asking here, will K-State go 9-3 or better in the regular season, or 8-4 or worse?
If they go 8-4 or worse, people are going to be disappointed, because that would be a repeat of what just about every other year in the Kleiman era, aside from the time they won the Big 12 championship, which was still just 9-3. So it better be over. I think I would go over, because on paper, and this is all we're doing on paper, you shouldn't lose a non-conference game. So that gets you pretty far too.
Yeah.
And I'm counting Arizona as that.
Yeah. Well, yes, you probably should not. It is weird because, you got the Friday road game at Arizona. You got the Army game. The Army game is going to concern me until that thing is done. Someone on the Discord, was talking about that game. I was like, dude, there's nothing that's going to be awesome about that. That will be a total root canal, because even if you win, it's going to be just painstaking and annoying and stressful.
And that game, kind of from a physicality standpoint, will always take a lot out of you, and then you got to play 6 days later. So it's not ideal either. You don't even get a full week of recovery like you typically would following a game against a service academy, which isn't ideal. And I know this is going to sound strange, especially since Chris Kleiman has essentially had his way with FCS teams, but I've talked to people in Nebraska, obviously, because they played that week 0 game in Ireland, and they did play the following week, just like Kansas State will as well. And they said that's when they almost lost. I don't know if it was like to South Dakota or something. They almost lost their FCS game the following week.
Well, to be fair, that's a Nebraska annual tradition at this point. Losing an FCS game, or almost losing an FCS game.
That's more of an Iowa State thing, I thought. But
well, Scott Frost last year. They lost to who was that? Somebody terrible.
I guess it feels like Matt Campbell's plays with the food against Northern Iowa every year.
Looking at Nebraska here. Wait, how many years ago was it that they played that game?
Probably a while. It was against Northwestern, so 3-4 years ago.
Okay, they had North Dakota. Well, okay, that was all the same year. So they lost to Georgia Southern, but that was 2 weeks after.
Okay.
Northwestern.
That's just not a good team, obviously. But
38-17, they beat North Dakota, and that's who K-State has coming off.
Yeah, and I think it was tight until late. So
probably so, yeah, because that was what they were doing at that point. So yeah, look, Scott Frost, which none of this, DY, to bring this all back home, none of this conversation about Scott Frost in Nebraska bodes well for UCF, who is predicted near the bottom of the Big 12 with 5.5 wins this year. We can get to more on UCF at the moment.
Yeah, that's basically asking, do you think UCF's a bowl team to technically? Yeah. That's what the 5.5 number is. And without looking at their schedule, it's like there's no way they're a bowl team, but who knows?
Well, literally the entire league is between 8.5 and 5 wins, which is crazy because if you look at the Big 10, so that's a 3.5 game difference top to bottom. The Big 10, there is a 7.5 game difference from top to bottom.
That makes a lot of sense. I tell you what, with the lowest only being 5, you can make a lot of money off the Big 12 if you get right who's going to suck. You can win a lot of money on the Big 12.
Yeah, you definitely can, and really a lot of it's just like I see the fan reaction to a lot of these, and it is, I mean, I get it. It's fans, and like I said, everybody is really grasping for content in the offseason, but I don't know how anybody could really be like that offended when they are this close together and there's just not that much variation. Like, even if you think K-State is going 11-1 or something, like, I don't know, they're tied for first in the Big 12 with the 8.5. To me, that's a good line to set. Like, I do think K-State is probably going like 9-3. Like, if you put it at 9.5, I would maybe have a little tougher time with it than I would 8.5. I would take the over on the Cats.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised maybe it's not at 9.5, but again, with the Big 12 being so widely competitive that they set it at 8.5, so it tends to make you want to go over on K-State. Arizona State, I mean, see, that's the thing. It's like, it's harder to pick who's going to suck than you think, because last year we all had Arizona State and BYU unders probably, and that didn't come out to be. Although I was definitely right on West Virginia that everyone criticized me for. I do remember that.
Did I criticize you for it?
I think so, because you were like starting to get on the West Virginia bandwagon just as the season was beginning, because West Virginia people thought they were going to be good.
Yeah, they did. They did really gas themselves up last year. Okay, again, fair enough.
And Arizona State, if they go 3-0 in their non-con, their over is probably the one to take. Like, they play Northern Arizona, Mississippi State, Texas State, go 3-0 there, and win home games against Houston and West Virginia for sure in Arizona, and you're already at 6. So,
well, let me give you the team that I saw the most chatter about. Now, they have a very active online passionate fan base, but when you go look at their schedule, I do think it's fair to really raise this question. BYU fans were upset about being pegged at 7.5, and their non-con schedule: Portland State, Stanford, at East Carolina. I mean, it's pretty damn manageable. And then they're the team that, I mean, they play basically the entire, what we feel like will be the bottom of the league if you're looking at the over-unders there. I mean, they've got Arizona, they have Cincinnati, they have UCF, they have West Virginia, all on the schedule, and their toughest games, they have a road trip to Tech, they have a road trip to Ames. I guess you could say road trip at Colorado. They have Utah at home, but I mean, they're not playing K-State, Arizona State. They're not playing Baylor.
Their problem is their home schedule is so light and easy. It's going to be dictated by what they do on the road, because last year they got all the big boys at home technically, and they're so good at home, and it helped elevate them atop the league because of that. This year, you don't really have a home schedule that can elevate you.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point, because the home conference games are West Virginia. Now, Utah will be tough, but West Virginia, Utah, TCU, UCF. And TCU may be tough.
Yeah, but West Virginia and UCF, you'd rather play them on the road than home, and then you got Portland State, and
because TCU's problem here, I mean, they're at 6.5, and that one is really tempting to me. I'm like,
I would
on its face,
blindly.
On its face, it's like TCU seems like they will be good enough to be better than 6-6. Like, I would think so.
They won 8 games last year. Yeah.
But if you do look at their schedule, it is tough. They have, because the non-con, and it's not just the conference schedule, it's the non-con. They've got a road trip to North Carolina that'll be Belichick's first game, maybe. They've got SMU at home now, and SMU just drilled them and went to the playoff last year. So,
and you play K-State, Arizona State, Baylor, Iowa State, and BYU.
And 3 of those games are on the road. They've got K-State, Arizona State, BYU on the road.
Yeah, I mean, TCU's schedule is not kind, but you bring back your quarterback, who I didn't have a lot of respect for at one point. Now I do, from a team that won 8 games. You probably have enough metal in that locker room to get to 7, I would think, somehow. But you do have to probably win. You definitely have to beat North Carolina or SMU.
And I think they will beat North Carolina. I do. The Belichick thing seems like such a circus at this point, and there's speculation about whether or not he'll even make it to that game as the head coach. I don't know. What do you think about Kansas at 7.5? I'm curious what Nick thinks about Kansas at 7.5 as well.
That's a lot for a team replacing a lot. Now, you do get your quarterback back, And as long as he stays healthy, he gives you a chance to win every game. Jalen Daniels is at his best that good. But I mean, schedule wise, I mean, even if you do lose to Missouri, you get out there 2-1, and you get West Virginia and Cincinnati at home right out of the gate. I mean, you could start 4-1.
Forgot about that Mizzou game. Yeah.
If you lose to Mizzou, you could still start 5-1 if you win at UCF too. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they could really get rolling. That is a good point.
They have a schedule that is conducive to a hot start. Now, it gets difficult thereafter, but
yeah.
I mean, the last half of the season they played Tech, K-State, Iowa State, and Utah.
Yeah, and a lot of I guess it's just I got to be careful about like fan bases that are loud and passionate on social media, because I saw Oklahoma State and West Virginia fans very upset. They're picked at the very bottom with just 5 wins apiece, but it's like I don't know. Again, who is playing quarterback for Oklahoma State? How do I trust any of that? And who is playing football for West Virginia? How do I trust any of that? They're going to have 70 new players on the roster. I get it. You guys are excited. You think Rich Rod's a great coach. I do think Rich Rod is a pretty good coach, but it is asking a lot to turn over what was a mediocre roster already and then have that just magically work to be a bowl team. We'll see.
I have Oklahoma State, and we did you should go check out our last show if you haven't yet. And we kind of did our Big 12 power rankings. Cole and I and John provided some commentary as well. But I still, just because of the coaching, I still had Oklahoma State and West Virginia better than UCF and Arizona. But
I think that is a fair statement. So I guess, if those fan bases want to be upset that they're a half game, and this could get into just parsing the schedules too. But I think that's fair. Like the Scott Frost thing, I just don't. Nothing against UCF, but that is he had one good year. He had the one good season. He had a 500 season at UCF. He had one great season, and then he was terrible at Nebraska. And you're going to hire him back based on that, man? I don't know. I didn't like the vibes on that hire at all. Maybe I will be wrong. Brent Brennan, I didn't really like going into last year, and we saw that was, about as disastrous as it could have been last year, especially considering all the talent that they had. They squandered a bunch of, first 2-day NFL draft talent. So I'm not incredibly optimistic about where that's going for the Wildcats either.
I don't have their over-under right in front of me. I imagine it's pretty middle of the road.
For who are you looking at?
Houston.
Houston is 6.5, so they're pretty much smack dab right in the middle.
Yeah, that would be tempting to take the over. I don't know if you have examined their schedule, but I know I'm looking at this probably from the most optimistic point of view. There's probably only 2 games that they can't win.
Okay, let's see here. Yeah, well, their non-con's fine. Stephen F. Austin at Rice at Oregon State. I mean, they'll be on the road, but obviously those are winnable. Colorado at home. Texas Tech at home. Is that one of the games you're wondering about?
That's 50-50 just because it's at home, and they've actually been tight with Texas Tech historically. The ones I said they couldn't win are at Arizona State and at Baylor.
Yeah, okay. So I see. Yeah, they've got road trip at Baylor at the end of the year. They're at Arizona State probably in late October.
I mean, they could, if they're playing good ball and they're like a typical Willie Fritz team, they can get the 8 wins with this schedule.
They could. I mean, still it's like going to Stillwater. That'll be a tough environment, but they can beat Arizona at home. They can beat West Virginia at home. They can win at UCF. Get TCU at home. Yeah. I could see it. Connor Wegman, again, so much of this like hinges on quarterback play. I feel like a lot, right? Because that they'll have a pretty stingy defense, and if Connor Wegman really is somebody that can step in and elevate them right away at QB, they should be fine. So, okay. Any other thoughts here on what we've got in the Big 12? I mean, obviously, we both talked about liking Utah, so I think 7.5, becomes kind of appetizing there for Utah.
Yeah, examining their schedule, as long as they don't lay a dud in the opener, they should win their non-con 3-0. I don't really think much of UCLA, even with potentially Nico Iamaleava at quarterback. And you would have to think that with him switching teams at the juncture he did, it's probably better to play UCLA early than late.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, there will be 10,000 people at the Rose Bowl. Like, it's not going to be a
Or there might be more than that, but they'll just be wearing red.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
That's
actually a great point because Utah fans, I mean, they did so much complaining about missing the Pac-12 road trips. Like they loved those. They loved going to LA. I bet they'll probably outnumber them like 3-1.
Yeah, probably. I will say the only thing that could hurt our Utah belief, I guess you want to say, it is a challenging schedule even in the Big 12 because I mean 3 of their four Big 12 games are against Tech, Arizona State, and BYU, and BYU's on the road. Now
They're
Tech,
at BYU.
they're gonna have to beat Tech and Arizona State at home for them to reach the highs that me and you think that they can reach.
It's true. They're going to Baylor and they have K-State in back-to-back weeks at the end of the year too. So
yeah, I mean they play what we perceive maybe as the 5 other toughest teams.
Yeah. Although, once again, bears repeating. Last year we did all this analysis too, and it didn't matter at all because things were basically flip-flopped.
And to be honest, you'd rather get KU early than late, so them having to play KU at the end is probably not ideal either.
Yeah, road game. Yeah, new stadium, all that. I think that's fair. Okay, little taste of Big 12 football here. You can go on Twitter at JL Kurtz if you want to see the over-unders here and just follow along there. But Brett McMurphy, I just retweeted Brett McMurphy from the Action Network who put those out yesterday. So appreciate all of our great sponsors, Home Field Apparel, Holiday Distillery. Go support them. Thanks to Nick Springer behind the scenes. For Cole and DY, I am John. We'll talk to you very soon. Thanks for listening to another edition of 3 Mall.